let's move on just a little bit. Let's now look at, instead of the stages of leisure, just real quickly, the classes of leisure. So this one isn't so much a whole bunch of hard-defined stages as it is more of a continuous spectrum between two extremes, right? So we've got casual leisure, just idle time. We'd map this onto more of our opportunistic things, right? So it's not particularly stressful, it's not particularly expensive. In terms of physiological arousal state, not like, this is general physiological arousal, not like intimacy arousal, that sort of thing. Casual leisure is sort of low on that physiological arousal scale. Serious leisure can be low or high on that particular axis of it. But we see some folks treating what they say is really fun, really important to them as a vocation, treating it like work. Do you know anybody, do you have a friend in the dorms maybe, or in, farmhouse where you're staying, wherever, who spends like double-digit hours a week over at the student rec center, on the climbing wall, or making protein shakes, or whatever, or they spend like unconscionable amounts of money on something. It's like, man, how do you even afford to do this? Okay? That's a much more serious class of leisure than something like just pulling out your phone and playing a social game, or a quick 3-minute round of Clash Royale, something like that. Okay? Long distance backpacking is very effortful. You earn those memories by dint of sweat and exertion and enduring mosquitoes and navigating snake-intensive environments and sometimes gusty wind environments along knife-edge ridges in places like Alaska and Hawaii, right? I mean, legitimately dangerous and hard to get to places. And for a lot of people who are involved in serious leisure, and they feel a lot of centrality, like it's a central part of their lives, that difficulty is sometimes the point. Anybody know who summited Everest for the first time? Say again? Sir Edmund Hillary. Yeah. And his porter Tenzing Norgay. And he was once asked, why did you do this? Like, there's so little oxygen up there, you take one step for the last, a couple thousand feet of the ascent. You take one step, and then you lock your knee, and you take a breath, and you relax the entire rest of your body, and then you take one more step, and then you take a breath, and relax and rest all of your muscles, and so the valid question was, why on earth would you put yourself at risk to do that? There are lots and lots of people who have not survived summit attempts or descent attempts from Mount Everest, and their bodies are too dangerous to recover. So they are left on the side of the trail and used as way markers. Their bodies are, because it takes a whole bunch of people to get a frozen, solid body out of an environment like that. And all of those people are at risk of dying as well. So, valid question. Why would you do something like that? Why would you attempt something that is not for survival, not for economic interest, income? It takes a crazy amount of effort. It was a whole team of people. And these days, you have to have, I believe it's 10 years ago, it was $75,000 cash to apply for permission to go hike or try to summit Everest. 75 grand plus costs. So oxygen bottles, poop bags, lots and lots of candy bars, etc. Right? This is a rich person's pastime. Why would Sir Edmund Hillary do it? And his answer? Because it was there. Right? That's about the most metal, serious leisure answer you could possibly get out of anybody, because it's there. Nobody's ever done it before. It's hard, and that's why it's worth it. Okay? So, because humans are all of the needs and considerations of wildlife species, we have habitat needs for feeding, breeding, birthing, rearing young, cover from predators, migration corridor habitat, and so forth. Humans have all of those needs as well, right? We have neonatology units for our like breeding and rearing needs, for example. But we also have this superset of thoughts about what's worth it. What is worth a serious investment versus just meh. This cost of playing this game is 5 seconds for me to pull out my phone and unlock it, right? So we're going through this as well to think, let's say I'm a park ranger 5-10 years from now. I'm gonna have a lot of people who are somewhere between casual and serious. Like they're serious enough to jump in the car and drive to Sleeping Bear Dunes State Park, or Warren Dunes by Chicago, or Medellin Tallgrass Prairie. Anybody ever been to a...
My friend works there.
Yeah, okay, right on. Several of our students have worked there over the years. It's a nice place. Like, they cared enough to spend a little bit of gas into the atmosphere and drive to this protected area for recreation. So somewhere between casual and very, very serious, like summiting Everest. So what are the needs of somebody that you can provide or need to figure out that you should not provide them for sustainability reasons or whatever, for somebody who's showing up to your park or other protected area in a casual leisure mindset? Like they're there to be entertained, right? They get to the visitor center, and they look at you kind of tired, and they're like, what do you got for me? Right? We all know some people like that, right? Or somebody who shows up at that same visitor center, same protected area or park, whatever it is, and they're like, I'm ready to go on my 2-week backpacking trip. Where's your backcountry permits desk? Let's do this. And they got kind of, you can see a little bit more of the whites around their eyes and like veins bulging, and they probably smell like patchouli and, you know, have lots of synthetic fiber clothing. People like me, you know. Anyway, that's a little bit closer to the serious leisure end of it. And then there are folks who are coming into the visitor center like, hey, I'd like to film a documentary here and live on site for the next 9 months and go do and film and sort of interpret research that you guys are doing for a wider TV audience, for example. So that wouldn't even be serious leisure. That's legitimate, actual just work. Okay? So as a park ranger, forest ranger, conservation police officer, we're interfacing with this whole range in terms of classes of leisure. Everybody across this entire spectrum is going to come through those front doors or that front gate. And we got to have answers ready for all of the different kinds of them, because they're all valid, right? It's just a question of, are we able to handle that and accommodate it? Is this something we want to go hard in the direction of, or is our park or protected area kind of the wrong fit for whatever their motivation is? So if somebody, for example, really, really, really wants to hunt snow geese, Giant City is physically adjacent to Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge. But it's the wrong place for snow geese hunting, even though it's prime habitat for snow geese. It's still in the same migration corridor, same species present. So we have to be able to sort out, okay, this is valid, I just can't accommodate it here. Are you aware of the awesome Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge literally next door? We'll get you set up over there. Here's the phone number for the conservation officer you need to talk to see about your permit for that. They can let you know how many decoys you can set out, where you can set them out, where to get your hunting compartment, and so forth. Okay? So, embedded in this idea of the classes of recreation, very serious to very casual and everything in between, we have also this other dimension of it, which is how much is each of these million different potential kinds of people, different activities, different motivations coming through our front gate. For all of them, is each one of those highly resource dependent? Like you have to have a specific kind of physical resource on site or an opportunity or experiential, those intangible, those conceptual resources on site, or anything other than that. Okay, so for example, a very non-resource dependent forest and recreation outdoor activity, picnicking. You can picnic anywhere. You can picnic in a 20,000 stall parking lot. We call it tailgating, right? And you can picnic on the top of a mountain. The resource doesn't matter. Now, picnicking on top of a mountain, tailgating, very different experiences, right? Obviously, of course. But strictly speaking, you can do that activity anywhere along that range between a parking lot and the top of a mountain. So it's a non-resource dependent activity. Now, if the motivation for the picnicking is, all right, I'm going to pack this picnic basket and throw in an engagement ring, and it's just going to be me and my significant other, and we're going to have very serious, intimate conversation about our futures together, eventually, I hope. Maybe the mountain's more suitable for that one. I'm just spitballing, unless you're a diehard sports fan, in which case the mountain is the wrong answer. And the tailgate might be the better fit for that particular couple. Yeah? All right, so for activities, they can be resource independent or resource oriented or resource obligated. Rock climbing, you gotta have not just rock. We've got rock everywhere under or at the surface of the earth. The entire planet, literally. It's not turtles all the way down, it's an iron nickel core of the planet that provides our, whatever, planetary geology, fascinating stuff. You need very specific kinds of rock. Rock that is steep and rock that is not soft. So rock climbing at the Talc Cliffs of Dover, for example, over on the eastern shore of the Atlantic, would be a bad time because your fingers are strong enough to break and pulverize, break into dust, chalk and talc. It's the softest mineral on the Mohs hardness scale, right? We need very specific kinds of metamorphic and sedimentary rocks, typically for rock climbing. So granite can be amazing for rock climbing. Certain kinds of granite are awesome. Granite is a hard consolidated material. It's metamorphic, so it's stuff like sandstone and other minerals that have been, compressed and recrystallized together, like those crystals are super glued together geologically. And we can climb on stuff as soft as sandstone, like out west, in the Navajo sandstone around Moab, Utah, for example. Here in southern Illinois, we have something kind of in between. We have sandstone, but it's very, very hard consolidated sandstone. It was just starting to metamorphose before it got exposed here at the surface of the planet again. And so it's not fragile, it's not chossy, it doesn't break apart like a lot of the sandstone does in and around Canyonlands and Arches and the Moab area, the San Rafael Swell section of Utah. All right, so rock climbing is a resource-dependent activity. So at Giant City State Park, we can do a bunch of awesome rock climbing. At Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge right next door, we don't have, in a lot of places on Crab Orchard, the same kinds of rock formations exposed for rock climbers to be able to use. So if you're a ranger or conservation officer over at Crab Orchard, you don't have to think about rock climbing very much, except for the places that your rock climbers find that you don't, and start to develop pitches and climbs and so forth. Okay? So, we'll end it right there for today, talking about resource dependent or obligate kinds of forest and outdoor recreation. versus ones where you can kind of do anywhere, anytime. All right? Come back to this on Thursday.
You want us to turn this thing in or not?
Go ahead and pass in your 3 activities exercise. Make sure your name's on it. We'll give you credit for that.